Welcome to Bothy Threads, the home of happy stitching. In this video, we're going to look at how to bring your pictures to life with backstitch. So, let's work a horizontal line of back stitches. As you can see, we're coming up and working back on ourselves. So, at the back of the fabric, we go across 2 Ada blocks to be ready for the next stitch, and then we take that back 1 stitch. We can make individual stitches like this, or we can make slightly longer stitches. So for example, I could count at 3 squares ahead with this next stitch. 1, 2, 3, come up to the front and then go 3 blocks back. You can do this up to 5 blocks long, but I wouldn't go any more than this because of the danger of it being snagged. It's easier and quicker to work fewer longer stitches, and personally I think it looks better, but it's a matter of preference. We do exactly the same for a diagonal line here, taking individual stitches across the diagonal, or if you prefer, we could go over, say here, 2 diagonals, and probably I wouldn't make that more than 3 or 4 diagonals long. Traditionally, backstitch was worked in a very angular fashion, but it makes the design look very blocky, and these days a more fluid approach is favoured, as being worked here on this large block Ada. As a beginner, you might like to make little marks where the direction or angle of the lines change, because this is where you're going to break your individual back stitches. We've already looked at working backstitch in straight lines and in diagonals. Let's look at some other possibilities. Here we have a backstitch worked across a rectangle of 1 by 2 blocks. We can work them across 1 by 3, 1 by 4. Here's one worked across a 1 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. Occasionally I work them over 6, but certainly no longer than that. The only other sneaky one to watch out for is one like this, which is worked across a rectangle of 2 by 3 blocks. As you saw on the previous video, working the horizontal and diagonal lines of backstitch, we usually use 1 strand, but here I'm using a thicker thread. You add your backstitch once you've finished your cross stitch, and this is really useful because it means that you can anchor the thread to start and finish off by running through the back of some of these cross stitches. Some people wait till they finish the whole design, but other people can't wait and add the backstitch section by section. Oh, we're coming to one of those sneaky stitches, 2 along and 3 down. I'll mark those off on my stitch diagram before I work them. And then I'll finish off by this last diagonal stitch and run through the back of the design to anchor my thread. Now we're ready to look at a design that uses a lot of backstitch. Here we have a love tree design. If we look at the finishing off stitch diagram, we can see all these lines indicating the backstitch. Let's look at the instructions to see what they all mean. So the backstitch symbols are a dotted line, meaning we need to use 1 strand of red, a straight line, meaning 1 strand of brown, or a dashed line, meaning 2 strands of brown. If we look at these areas here, we can see all 3 symbols, and here they are on the picture. 1 strand of red, 2 strands of brown, and 1 strand of brown. So far we've been looking at back stitches that run right across an Ada block, but some designs call for more detail. For example, on this Margaret Sherry design for the eyes and the cheeky grins. As you can see on the chart, these stitches pierce the Ada blocks, and I like to call them piercing backstitch. I'll just work the cat's face as a demonstration. To make it clearer, I've not worked the underlying cross stitch. So, as you can see on this side of the smile, we're going to come up right in the centre of an Ada block. And again, going back down, we're going to pierce the centre of the Ada block. On the other side of the smile, it's slightly different, because this time we're going to come up between two Ada blocks. And again, the same going down between two Ada blocks. You might have noticed it's sometimes a bit tricky to get the needle exactly where you want it, and you may have to wiggle around a bit. And there we have our cheeky grin.
We hope you now find backstitch less worrying.
It's actually always been my favourite part. Happy stitching! If you have any questions, please get in touch. You can give us a ring or send us an email. We also have a very friendly Facebook group where you can share your stitching stories.